Welcome to Nevada Newsmakers. On the broadcast today, we're in a building boom across the state of Nevada, but is it slowing down because of a lack of workers? Don Tatro is here for the whole show on an all-new Nevada Newsmakers.
We started this community garden to grow more than fresh food. We're growing a stronger, healthier future in Nevada, but not without help. Tom Steyer knows real change starts at the grassroots. That's why he rallied Nevadans to win clean energy and teamed with farmers to bring fresh produce to public schools. As president, Tom will unite us to save our planet. That's why I'm caucusing for Tom.
I'm Tom Steyer, and I approve this message.
Like a traditional handmade basket, retail is woven into the fabric of life in Nevada. From big box to mom and pop, retail supports our communities in countless ways. Jobs for the disabled, team uniforms for kids, help for the elderly, and so much more. Retail employs over 1 in 10 workers. Retail supports Nevada, and we support retail.
RANNV.org.
Pro Group Management specializes in providing industries with the necessary components to satisfy and exceed workers' comp requirements. Every business has unique needs and specific regulations. Pro Group Management stays ahead of the curve, providing up-to-date services to keep your industry in top form. Discover how we simplify your tasks, improve efficiency, and reduce expense to keep you moving in a positive direction. Pro Group Management. Workers' comp that works for you.
Truck drivers are some of the hardest working people you'll meet, delivering over 70% of America's freight and 92% of Nevada's. When there's a natural disaster, they're delivering critical supplies to help those communities recover and rebuild. Every sector of the economy and our nation's military rely on truck drivers. So let's take a moment to say thank you. On the open road or city streets, our truck drivers are rolling to make our economy and our nation stronger. Trucking moves America forward.
This is Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad, a no-holds-barred political forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we're delighted to welcome back to the program Don Tatro. He is the Executive Director of the Builders Association of Northern Nevada. Pleasure to have you back, sir.
Thanks for having me. It's good to be back.
I want to mention that we are taping this on the day of the debate, the Democratic debate, and a couple of days before the caucus. So on some of the things we talk about, you may be wrong, you may be right, and vice versa.
Yeah.
So, the first thing I wanted to ask you about was the pardon of Michael Milken. And the reason I ask you is just merely because, as a member of the Builders Association, you have seen so many projects that Michael Milken has either directly or indirectly been involved in funding. So this is actually a really big story for Northern Nevada.
It is. It's interesting. I guess I didn't see it coming. I wasn't around when the SNL crisis happened and all that. And it's interesting to see a player on our little community on a local level being pardoned by the president for something that happened before I was born. So it's interesting. Those projects and the investments they've made in the community are significant. So more power to them. And I don't know the ins and outs of all of it, but I'll tell you the investments they've made here are significant and going to change the face of our region.
Yes, and I don't think that people really understand. I mean, people have concerns about growth, which they always do.
Yes.
But I don't think that people really understand that it's not just Reno Sparks, it's the entire region.
Yeah, Northern Nevada. I mean, you have to include now Fernley, Dayton, Carson City, Douglas County. That's our region. Fallon, yes, absolutely. Those are the areas that are going to see a big change, I think, economically, and already have. So, we're a region now. We're not just Reno, where I remember, the magic carpet putt-putt thing was way out of town, and 580 didn't exist. It's a different world now.
Yeah, and I don't want to miss out Yerington as well because of the Pumpkin Hollow mine. That is going to make a big difference, and they are moving along quite rapidly. So I was talking to some construction friends over lunch yesterday, and I said, how is it affecting you? Because I know that their complaint has been, with so many others, that it's so hard to get employees. And I said, well, what's actually happening? What's the result of not having enough employees at this point? And they said a general slowdown in the ability to complete the projects. It's not that the projects are stopping or that we're not taking new projects, but we're not able to complete them as fast. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, they're taking longer, absolutely, based on several factors, but labor is a significant one. You know, I'm very involved with Ace Charter High School, which is an amazing school. If you haven't checked it out, please do. The kids actually, it's a high school, and they build a house every 2 years, and that helps fund the school. So they're getting their construction management, they're learning CAD, and they're coming out architects, they do dual credits at TMCC. So we're really involved in trying to raise the next generation of workers. It kind of reminds me of, if you look at the energy sector and the oil fields, when you had the bust in the early 80s, there's a whole missing segment of workers in that industry now. You have the senior folks and then the very junior, and there's a missing gap of that middle management. And I think that's how construction will look in years to come. But there's great opportunity in it, and I think people are starting to see it. They're starting to see that the extensive amount of debt when you go to college may not be worth it if you're exposed to the trades and you like doing that work. So we've really focused our efforts on exposing the younger generations to the trades. My old metal shop is now a computer lab, and that's a necessary skill, but we still have to introduce folks to the trades. And my old carpentry shop in middle school is the same, you know, and so if you're never introduced to it, how do you know you wouldn't be a fit? So getting guidance counselors, getting people to bring people into the trades is critical, but it is slowing projects down.
You and Aaron West have been doing a masterful job going around the state and encouraging students to get involved. Are you satisfied with the response rate that you're getting, or is there a lot more work needs to be done to be able to let kids know, and their parents, that, you know, a 4-year college degree in a subject that isn't going to get you a good living is not necessarily the best plan?
Yeah, of course I'm happy that we've seen results. There's a lot more work to do. I think kids going into school and college are learning that those weird degrees that don't have any higher ability after college, I hope they're slowing in all areas, not just, hey, go into construction, but maybe try business as well, or economics, or something that has some employability. But yeah, we're starting to see it turn a little bit, and introducing them to trades, and when you get to see the fruition of your efforts at the end of the day, it's amazing. You know, a lot of my job, I send an email and nobody cares, nobody cheers, nobody gets to go live in it. And so to actually have that happen, and when I worked construction as a kid, I still drive by those projects and kind of smile that I had some little part in that. I mean, I was a laborer, I just cleaned it basically and did the hard stuff. But it's neat to see that, and I think when you actually see, wow, I've put that business in play, you know, built the building so they could be there. It's an amazing accomplishment, and so I think younger folks are starting to like that, and you're seeing trades come back. You know, not just in construction, but people wanting to work with their hands, good woodworking skills. All these things they're kind of making a comeback that seems to have been lost for a few generations. It
was interesting. Just after the recession had really hit in northern Nevada, I was very close with the general manager of a casino in Sparks, and he had a large Hispanic business. And when the recession hit, suddenly that Hispanic business was gone.
Yeah.
And they were all construction workers, or the majority of them were construction workers. And he actually went to the places where they lived to talk to them to see what was going on.
Right.
They were all gone. Yeah. Because there was only a reason to be here if there was work, and if there was no work, they were going to where the work was. So as we have this huge need for workers, does it concern you that we now have a much tighter immigration policy, but no solutions for legal immigration to get to, and would you welcome,
absolutely,
you know, workers from abroad?
Yeah, if there's a gap, and we currently have a gap for our workforce, we need to fill that gap. Immigration reform is paramount to helping to do that, and to bring qualified workers over, and to bring folks that are willing to put in the effort that we currently do not have would be great. I don't know if it's a more stringent immigration policy. I think that goes back and forth, but it's broken, and it's been broken for a very long time over multiple presidents, multiple election cycles. It's both parties are at fault for the current system, and I don't think anyone can look at it and be proud of it. You need to get some way to screen folks, bring them over, place them into the trades, whether that's putting construction in as skilled labor, allowing more visas. You have to have checks and balances on it. You have to watch those visas. You have to hold people accountable, absolutely. But immigration reform is necessary.
Okay, so
for everything, for security to jobs.
So as you talk to the congressional delegation, and I know you talk to all of the members of Nevada's delegation, is anybody optimistic?
I think everyone's hopeful. Everyone would like to see something happen.
Well, I'd like to win the lottery,
yeah,
but I mean, I'm hopeful there.
That's a very couch political answer, I'm sorry. I don't think there's anything on the horizon given the current political environment of scorched earth, and if it's your idea, it's a bad idea. If it's my idea, it's a good idea. I just don't see it happening this Congress. Maybe in next Congress, that would be something that would make it up. But it's so broken that it needs to be a topic. It needs to be something we continue to discuss and fix.
For many years, the phrase has been comprehensive immigration reform, and that goes back to 1977. And it was accomplished in 1986 by President Reagan, but it was started by Jimmy Carter. My thought, having watched that process, apparently long before you were born.
Not long before. Was pretty close.
Was that almost anything would blow it up, especially in the Senate. And so every time they got close to a deal, if one person objected, it got blown up. Later, we saw when President Bush, the second President Bush, tried to accomplish it, it was the fact that John McCain was running for president that ended up blowing that. Because
I was there during that time.
Well, okay, well, let me just lay the groundwork, and then you can explain, because I'd love to hear the story. So it was President Bush, Harry Reid, John McCain. They were working together to come up with a comprehensive immigration plan, and then it got blown up. Explain.
Well, there's a few things. So first, let's go back to the Carter-Reagan, whatever it did not fix the problem, right? It was a temporary solution.
It fixed a portion of the problem.
Yeah. And the other thing I would say is you mentioned comprehensive, and any time there is a comprehensive bill, just my own personal opinion, run. I've not seen anyone where they say we're going to do comprehensive legislation and it's going to work out. The unintended consequences of such drastic changes don't work. And so you're left with trying to do pieces of it, which also doesn't work. Because you can't get little things done because somebody says, well, if you're going to do this, I demand you do that. If you're going to do this, and so you keep piling on, and then you have this comprehensive hodgepodge of, unintended consequences, I think is the thing. But when I was in D.C., I remember vividly the immigration debate, and it was everyone, you had, DACA, the DREAM Act, and all these different things going on. And there was a parade where Latinos marched in LA and they were handed Mexican flags. And that, to me, was what put the nail in the coffin, because the far right or whoever said, look at that, they're not even trying to assimilate. And it was almost like you watched that on TV and you could see it through the halls, kind of reverberate down, and that was the poignant moment to me that did it. And then there was another parade where they all had American flags. So whatever group or whatever said, oh, that was a big mistake. But it was so big. And I think that was the moment it died. It was a really interesting sort of circumstance.
Okay, so if we get to the point where growth on a national basis starts to reverse because we don't have the workforce to be able to do the construction, then do we end up with a situation where Congress is finally forced to do something?
Could be. you could get to a situation like that. You're seeing longer build times. You're seeing that it hasn't created the action. Yesterday it was said we need to build 1 million homes in the nation. So we have a housing crunch here on the supply side. We can't get them built fast enough, but that's a national problem. And part of that national problem is labor and getting housing to market quick enough. Another part of it is getting through the planning processes, which have become extremely complex now. I went to a hearing last week at the TMR, Truckee Meadows Regional Planning Authority, where a project had been in the works for 2.5 years and had finally made it to this level where they get a maybe. They still have to go back and do the local tentative maps and final maps, so they're not turning dirt yet, but 2.5 years to get to a maybe. That's too long. When we look at our pipeline of available lots, that have made it through that process, we have about a 3-year supply. So if it's taking 3 years to get there, we don't have much supply for lots. And that's a national issue.
All right, let's take a break. More with Don Tatro when we come back.
Tamarack Junction is South Reno's hotspot with over 450 of the latest slots and video games. Sully Sports Bar, the Dining Car Restaurant, William Hill Sportsbook, and the Tamarack Steakhouse and Lounge. We're just north of the Summit Mall in South Virginia. Yeah.
Because of UMC, there's a wide open road ahead of me.
Because of UMC, she can grow up with her twin sister.
Because of UMC, I'm here to help you.
UMC, the highest level of care in Nevada.
Hi, I'm Eric Robnett, owner of Home Energy Experts. Has this ever happened to you?
Honey, did you remember to turn down the thermostat?
Forgetting to set the temperature? Not fun. We can help. Our new smart thermostat keeps the temperature set for your comfort all by itself.
I'm feeling hot now.
To increase your comfort, go to homeenergyexperts.com for details. That's homeenergyexperts.com.
The signs and symptoms of cataracts can start out small with subtle changes in your vision. So don't wait. Be proactive and take your vision into your own hands. If you're experiencing the onset of cataracts or just have questions, contact your eye care professional or call Eye Care Associates of Nevada today. Dr. Hiss has years of experience specializing in the surgical correction of eye disorders and has completed over 84,000 vision correcting procedures. At Eye Care Associates of Nevada, we'll change the way you look at the world.
The Tamarack Junction Steakhouse is known for signature steaks, handcrafted cocktails, and world-class wines. Join us Thursdays and Friday nights from 4:30 to 6:30 in the Steakhouse Lounge for live music, gourmet plates, and well-priced wines, just north of the Summit Mall on South Virginia.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with Don Tatro. He's the Executive Director of the Builders Association of Northern Nevada. Lands bills.
Yes.
There was talk a few months ago of perhaps an omnibus lands bill for the state of Nevada. There is so much arguing down in Clark County. I just don't see that happening. Do you? And if that goes or not, what do you think the likelihood is of any of the Northern Nevada lands bills making it through?
So I've been focused on the Washoe County lands bill, Truckee Meadows, I forget the technical name of it, but I'm very hopeful that goes through. I think it has a good chance. I think it does.
Does Congressman Amadei think that?
I haven't spoken to Amadei recently.
Okay.
But I've been watching the work at the county. There was a open meeting last night. There's one Thursday night. And what is so, there's always people on both sides that say, you can't do it for this and you can't do it for that, and there's a handout for that, and there's a handout for this. What these lands bills do are critical. 83% of Washoe County is BLM. This will take it to 81%. It's statewide, it doesn't even register. So you have the 90,000 acres in the disposal area, which about 50% of that you can't develop because it's on a 30% slope. But the sales of that go to help with infrastructure. They go to help Reno, Sparks, and Washoe clean up the river. They go to a bunch of critical things. The Southern Nevada Public Lands Management Act has put over $13 million into the clarity of Lake Tahoe. So it's critical for infrastructure, The Bedell Flats is a good example. Tumwa needs to replenish an aquifer, and it's on BLM land. If we can get them to be able to replenish this aquifer, it's very helpful for our current state of water needs, not just future. There's $700 for to go into the Reno, or 700 acres to go into the Reno Land Trust for affordable housing, workforce housing. There's significant amounts of wilderness designations. I'm an outdoor enthusiast. I try and get out, take my family out as much as we can. And to have these places put into a forever category for my kids and their kids to enjoy, that makes me happy. And this small portion that everyone says is, you hear, oh, it's going to be built. Southern Nevada Public Lands Management Act has averaged 1,400 acres of sales in a year. So this is much smaller than that. Maybe we get 500 acres of developable land or infrastructure in a year. It's a 30, 40 year hope to continue to improve our infrastructure, our local needs, and great funding through for all of our local regulatory bodies.
Have you had any word from our two senators?
I've talked to them. I think they're hopeful as well that they can
because they seem to have
balance.
been, especially Catherine Cortez Masto, seems to have been very active in areas that you wouldn't normally think that a Democrat would be, which is rural Nevada.
I think she's been great on it. I think she understands the economic and infrastructure needs of the local portion of what they call a disposal area. And then she understands the designations of wilderness and putting that in. That's what creates consensus around these lands bills. That's why they're so unique to the West, because of we have so much checkerboarding of federal land. There's a piece up Mount Rose Highway with 2 houses on each side, and in the middle, it's USDA land. 2 lots in between all these houses that are just federal land. So it cleans a lot of that up. But why they're not going to do that? It designates stuff to help with fire mitigation. That's a huge issue now with invasive weeds and that kind of stuff. So to help our economy, our infrastructure, as well as our environment, I think that's great for everyone.
All right, let's take another break and we'll be right back.
Take a look at this. Tom Steyer.
Tom Steyer surging in Nevada. This is working for Tom Steyer, surging in South Carolina. I don't think it's just resources.
Surging in 2 new polls out of Nevada and South Carolina.
Polling at double digits, up 11 points from October. That is dramatic.
I'm saying we have a broken government. That's what's going on in Washington, D.C. It's been bought by corporations, and my question to the American people is, who do you think is going to change that?
I'm Tom Steyer, and I approve this message.
Hey guys, are you watching the game at a friend's or the bar again because you can't watch at home with your wife? Or worse, because she kicked you out and kept your couch, your flat screen, and your kids? What's the one thing a man needs when he loses a good woman? A good lawyer. And when he loses a bad woman, he needs a great lawyer. What makes a good woman a bad woman? You tell me. You're the one that can't watch the game in your own home. I'm men's rights attorney Marilyn York, and I represent men in divorce, custody, and family law matters.
Hi, I'm Dave Newman. Remember me? I used to be the house detective, and now I'm a realtor, full-time at RE/MAX Realty Affiliates. A lot of people ask me, how's the market? You know what? It's fantastic. If you're even kicking around the idea of buying or selling, give me a call. Let's talk about it. Call me at RE/MAX Realty Affiliates and just ask for the guy who used to be the house detective, Dave Newman.
Everyone is talking about opioids, but they're not the only drugs that can be harmful if taken in large quantities or not as prescribed. You also need to be aware of side effects from anxiety drugs, muscle relaxants, sleep aids, and stimulants. Mixing prescription drugs with other drugs or alcohol can be dangerous. If you take an Ambien with a glass of wine, it may be enough to stop you from breathing. Prescribed drugs can be just as dangerous as illegal drugs. Take medications only as directed.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with Don Tatro. He's the executive director of the Builders Association of Northern Nevada. A lot of people talk about explosive growth in Northern Nevada in terms of housing, for example. But the numbers kind of belie that by comparison with pre-recession numbers.
Correct. Our historical average is much higher. If you take out the recession, we're almost at 3,000 single-family permits a year. In 05 and 06, it was 5,000 and 6,000 single-family home permits a year. Last year we did just over 1,900. So everyone's saying we're exploding with growth. I think we're exploding with demand, and that's putting pressure on price, but we are not able to build to this demand. Interestingly, multifamily's gone significantly up, but people weren't building that for years, so we've kind of met that demand. So I predict a stabilization in the increase in housing costs, as well as increased ability to meet demand. But the conversation of we're exploding with growth is false. We're below averages in construction. Just you didn't see it for 10 years, so it's surprising.
And also, as far as I can see, adjusted for inflation, the pricing of housing is still not above the peak of what it was previously.
Correct, and it's at about 4% increase. One thing that's interesting though is what the rents, $1,700 for a 3-bedroom, $1,200 for a 2-bedroom. The qualifications of that and our ability to meet the missing middle, we have to cut the cost either through increased labor, reduce land costs, or reduce regulation costs, because those folks should be able to buy a house. $1,200 can get you a $300,000 house. $1,700 can get you $425,000 house. We need to put those people in houses. That's the missing middle. And if we can do that, we will solve a lot of these issues.
And that's where we have to leave it. Come back soon, will you?
Great. Yes,
always a pleasure.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And we'll be right back. A bird's eye captures its surroundings at different heights. At Brian Culpa Photography, we can make your imagination soar over buildings, parks, cityscapes, and beyond. Brian's images tell the story and get the job done. If you need a new perspective to tell your story, contact Brian today. Brian Culpa Photography. Experience the bird's eye view at brianculpaphotography.com.
Hey, Dad? Are you learning? This place is great. Huh? You gotta try this.
Wow, this stuff is great. People are gonna love it.
Yes. Yes, they will.
Hello, is this D&D Roofing?
Yes, it is. How may I help you?
You did such a great job on my roof. May I speak to the owner?
I am an owner.
Oh, can I speak to your supervisor?
Sure.
How may I help you?
I love your work. May I speak to the owner?
I am an owner. We're all owners. Well, that's why at D&D we work so hard to keep your home safe and sound.
Oh, no wonder.
D&D Roofing and Sheet Metal. Local, employee-owned, here for you.
Retail's impact on Nevada's economy? Enormous. 8,600 businesses, large and small, employing 145,000 workers. And last fiscal year, retail paid tax on nearly $60 billion in sales. We're the Retail Association of Nevada. We support retail, we help it grow, and we mean business.
RANNV.org.
As always, you can watch Nevada Newsmakers 24 hours a day at NevadaNewsmakers.com. You can also download podcasts of the show free of charge at iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. Also, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. Everywhere is Nevada Newsmakers. We'll see you on the next broadcast.